I'd like to ask Jess to share a few words about why the Maine Council on Aging considers this proposal to be so important for the state of Maine.
Thank you, Nancy, and I hope that you will remain honorary for many, many years to come.
I promise.
And I plan on helping you get there. So good morning, my name is Jessica Maurer. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Association of Area Agencies on Aging and also the co-chair of the Maine Council on Aging. And on behalf of both organizations, I'm very pleased today to support the KeepME Home initiative and the speaker's bond that will create 1,000 new affordable housing units for older adults in Maine, all across Maine. The Maine Council on Aging is a broad multidisciplinary network of over 60 organizations and businesses working to promote the safety, independence, and well-being of older adults in Maine, especially those who are vulnerable. We believe that older adults are valuable members of our community and vital contributors to our economy. We work to ensure our laws and policies support older adults aging well in their homes and communities. The Maine Area Agencies on Aging are really the first place that older adults call when they have questions or they need help. And so I can tell you firsthand, representing Maine's Area Agencies on Aging, that we have a crisis related to housing in Maine. We really are at an unprecedented period in human history, not Maine history or the US history, but human history, in the sense that we are living as a human race longer than we ever anticipated. And that's creating new challenges. I think it's really important to say there's no one to blame here. We just, we couldn't have, we could have maybe thought about it, but really, honestly, we are in a place where people are living much longer than anticipated, and they are just literally outliving the houses that they're living in. And that is also a challenge for very, very low-income people. So in Maine, about 10% of older adults who are over the age of 65 live at or below the poverty level. About 34% of Mainers live on nothing but Social Security income, and the average Social Security income is less than $14,000 a year. And I was thinking this morning, knowing I was coming to talk to you today, I was thinking, well, gosh, there's a whole lot. I mean, there's 30,000 people who are 85 and older in Maine. Most of them are still community dwelling. Most of them are still living in their houses. Most of them are still living rurally. And I'm thinking, gosh, they actually retired maybe 20 years ago and have been living on that average income for that long. Well, how many things go wrong in a house over 20 years? At a minimum, the house has needed painting, but the furnace is likely gone, the roof is likely gone, the septic may be gone. These are all things that are challenged, and when you have a low income and you have a fixed income for 20 years, and the cost of food rises and the cost of heating oil rises, and you still have to maintain a vehicle because you live in rural Maine, you are working every single day just to meet your basic needs, and then you have to pay ever-increasing property taxes and figure out how to fix your home. And that formula just isn't working for tens of thousands of Mainers all across the state. And so what's happening is they're living in houses that are falling down around them because what do they want? And we all want, right? We want to live independently, so we want to live at home, we want to age at home. And so they try to stay in their homes for as long as possible, and then they realize they can't. And I'll tell you, we hear stories every day of people who are living in homes that just don't work for them anymore, right? So 37% of people 65 and older are disabled, and that percentage grows exponentially as you get older. And so just houses don't work for folks. There's only one bathroom in the house. It's on the second floor. We hear of people, older adults who are 70, 75 years old, literally crawling on their hands and knees up their stairs every day to take a shower. They actually have other means that are pretty humiliating of eliminating in their first floor. These are really unacceptable conditions, and the reality is that people sort of hold on to them as long as possible because that's their one asset, it's the thing they're proudest of, it's their home, they don't want to leave it, but they get to that crisis moment, you know what they do? They call the AAAs and they say, I need to find housing. And they're really deflated when they find out that there is no housing for them to be had in their communities, because if they can't stay in their home, they want to stay in their community. They want to stay near their friends, they want to stay near their family, and they find out they can't. And so then we say, well, you can go to these other places, but there's a 2-year waiting list. for those affordable housing units that you would qualify for. And so what are these folks to do? They're in a situation where they have to either stay in an unsafe house, they have to give up their independence and move in with a relative or a friend, or they have to move out of state. And so we're really saying that we have got to address this issue straight on. It's going to take a long time. There's nobody in this room that thinks that we're going to solve a 9,000 unit deficit by this one bond, but it is a critically important step that we go ahead and build at least some more units so that 1,000 people can find housing. And it's critically important that the bill also contains $1 million for home repair, because we need to help people stay in their homes for as long as possible while we're building the kind of housing that people need to live in as they get older. So I think I will end there and say that we are really thrilled to be leaders and supporters in partnership with all of you, and I'm happy to answer questions after the other speakers.
Thanks, Jess. You know, it was Edmund Muskie, remember him? Way back when, who first said that Maine's greatest exports is its young people. And it was true then, and it has continued to be true throughout the years. So a lot of these seniors that Jess is talking about have their children living away in other states, and they're here alone with their friends who are now dying around them. And they face a great sense of failure as their houses are deteriorating around them, and a great sense of shame that they're left alone at the end of their lives. This bond proposal has a strong support of many in the construction, architectural, and engineering firms that are still recovering from the recession and its devastating impact on the construction industry. Here to help us understand why this proposal is so important to Maine's economy and the contracting community in particular is James Brady, Chairman of the Associated Builders and Contractors in Maine, and Scott Lever of the Associated General Contractors in Maine. James? Scott?
Good morning. I'm James McBrady. I'm the chairman of the Associated Builders and Contractors. And our organization is getting behind this initiative. We're not an organization that supports a lot of bonds, but we felt this one is important for our state, both now and for the future. You can just tell by the fact that it's a bipartisan coalition, as well as all of the other groups involved in this, that this is very important. Our population's aging. We know this is happening. We need to do something about it now. Infrastructure takes a while to build. That's why the planning needs to begin as soon as possible. This isn't an issue where 5 to 10 years from now we can say we didn't see this coming. We're all presently aware of the situation. As we learned on the Route 1 bridge between Kittery and Portsmouth, you can't wait till it's too late. We need to start planning for the aging of the population now. As we said, was it 9,000 units we're short? And 1,000, that's chip, that's 11%. More is going to be needed. Whether this is through new construction, raising dilapidated buildings and rebuilding on the same locations, or reutilizing and repurposing our old school buildings, our old mill buildings, Maine's construction community is here to help. And you know, this is going to allow our elderly people to age with dignity within their communities. Like previous speaker said, a lot of these people's children have moved away, and the one thing they have left is their community. And we want to do our best to be able to keep them where they live. In this bond, it's all 16 counties are going to receive aid through this. And in addition to the housing, as far as our industry is concerned, the jobs are important. We were decimated through the housing boom and the subsequent bust. Bringing these units online will help create jobs throughout all the states, and hopefully these people's grandkids will be able to stay in the state and help build the future. So with that, we encourage all of you to help us in your support of this initiative. And I'll turn that over to Scott. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Nancee, Jess. Good morning. My name is Scott Lever. I'm the Chief Legal Officer of Associated General Contractors of Maine. AGC is fortunate to be a part of this coalition who are supporting this unique idea to improve housing options for Maine. seniors. This proposal is designed to provide new, cost-effective, energy-efficient housing opportunities that are close to vital services throughout the state. They'll provide good-paying jobs for a diverse workforce that includes engineers, earthwork contractors, building contractors, material suppliers, and tradespeople. An estimated 96% of Maine contractors are small businesses employing less than 20 people, and these highly skilled Maine workers are your neighbors, relatives, and friends. I want to thank Speaker Eves, Senator Burns, and Rep. Golding, who's here with us today, and the other supporters, especially the Maine Housing Coalition, Affordable Housing Coalition, for their leadership on this critically important initiative. Finally, I want to remind everybody here today that when our construction industry is building, Maine's economy is moving ahead. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys. That wraps up our prepared remarks. Please note that there are copies of the sign-on letter and the bond legislation itself over there on the windowsill, as well as the summaries of the recently released senior housing research study. If anyone wants to take one, you're welcome to it. If anyone has any questions of our speakers or anyone else, this is the time to ask, and we'd be glad to take your questions now. Anyone? You all know each other. You want to find out what you got for Christmas? Thanks. It's been a pleasure.